Bonsai Anonymous here again. I had to take a little break to get my medicine, which I always forget before I come out. So anyway, this is video 2, I hope. I'm trying to make this experiment here. I don't want to get to the point where I don't have enough. That's must be our little dog. Hey, Sweet! He needs to argue with the neighbors a little. He's a good boy. Sweet, will you sit? No, and don't eat this. My wife also nicely bought me out my waffles, which are right within the range of my dog. Everything that's down there, he thinks is probably his. Yeah, it's gone, Sweet. It's gone. You can lick your chops all you want. You're not getting it. You're just not. Dogs eat dog food, you know? It's not people food. And I know that's hard for you to accept, but it's true. It's just true. All right. What I wanted to do was have some sand in this, and I'm still trying to think of a way to do that. But the bag of sand that I thought I had, I guess it's here. It's blue sand, and I kind of hate to use it for this, but it is the sand I have. So as you know, we have to go with the sand we have, not the sand we wish we had. The other thing about this dust is that since I'm probably breathing it in, I'm making a nice coating of concrete in my lungs to keep all the bad stuff out. You know, it's like a bad thing barrier. Yeah, Sweet, it is. Sweet, you don't need to go over there. You don't need to. You don't need to go over there. Stop. Leave it. Sweet's a good boy. He's not discriminating as far as who he barks at. That kind of is not a great thing in a dog. He barks at the family just as much as he barks at anything else, and he just likes to bark. I think that's basically the situation. All right, so I thought I would try this way to get the grinding down a little farther. It's getting there. The problem is that if I leave this out long enough, it's going to get clogged again. Because that's how it happens. It gets clogged because it gets humidity in it. And this is Florida. We have humidity. Okay, so there's some stuff. It's very light, so I'm going to bite the bullet and put the rest of this sand in, which is about, I don't know, not much. It's probably wet too, that's helpful. Oh, get out of there. Okay, where are we? There is an opening in this bag. I just know there is. So put you in there. There you go. Oh, pretty much. All right. Now this sand is not going to make much of a difference here. Not too much of it. So, what else can I use for sand? Well, the truth is I don't have this. Okay. And sometimes I've taken yard soil and put it in here. And I didn't think to do that today, so I don't have it. So this is as sandy as it's going to get. And this part is for the bottom and around the sides. In other words, building up the pot. And by the way, let me explain what the mess is here. Our neighbor has a guest, very nice guy, who has a parrot, who I talked to across the fence, and I met him. His name is Maui, and he lives in Key West. But I mentioned to our neighbor that we have these two huge cages, and there they are. There they are in the background, and back down here. Okay, we're pretty much back where we were. All right. Yeah. Okay, so maybe over here. See, if I keep doing this, sooner or later it will just fall. Okay, so I can move that up a little farther myself. All right, so here we are. And if I'm lucky, I can get some of this on my waffle. All right, so this was my design for the wall. And I think, well, I'm changing my mind about this. I think that since I don't have any sand, and I'm planning on putting some of this in anyway, this is grit. Not grit exactly. It is aquarium sand. And I used this on another thing some time back, and it worked great. So we're going to build it up a little bit with this. I'm sure I'm going to need more than that. Let's just keep that. And the other thing I'm putting in is damp. And this seems damp. I don't know why it would be. It's in a bag, but it seems damp. And any dampness that I add to this just makes the picture a little murky. Okay, so there's that much. I think I'll just do a little bit at a time. Okay, now, that means I'm going to take some of this, put it in here, and okay, so I think this is going to harden. Well, I was going to say fast, but I'm not sure that's true. Okay, so what I was saying is that this was the design I made for the wall in the interior. And unfortunately, I decided I need to put at least another ½ inch of concrete or something on the bottom of this, you know, so I can, up to that. It'll probably sneak into that there. But it's going to be colored concrete. And let's see. Now, I think right now I'll make some black with these. One of the things about having memory loss is that I don't always remember what I was thinking. So I have to work on it again. Let's see if I can get some of this color through here. This is you know, I'm not going to be using this. I'm going to make this wooden block. Okay? This stuff does work pretty well. It is nasty. Well, if you get some in liquid and you get some in you, some of this on you, it sticks. I mean, I got brown patches on my hands from 3 days ago. Okay, so I'm mixing this in so we get a little less just plain old concrete color. And having done that, I'll set you down for a second. And I'm going to go around here and get rid of some of this stuff. It's not really necessary. It's so thin. All it's going to do is shield your eye from the color of the concrete that I'm putting on, which is black. I really don't want a black. I don't want a black, brown, and gray combination. Thing here. Put back in. See what I got. All right. A few more. I could leave these little pieces in here. It's not going to hurt. Okay. So my train of thought was that I wanted to make sure you understood that. Let me put this out a little bit. Put some in the back of it. Making sure you understood that this drawing that I have here of this design is not going to be visible, because as soon as I mix this concrete up, it's going to be invisible. All right, I would like one more soda pop lid. Okay. I'm going to have 7,000 of them going out here. You know, I mentioned earlier that I'm really making good steps toward. Let's see, is there one down there? Good steps toward cleaning up everything here and have everything ready when I'm ready to go. And of course that didn't happen, but the thought was there. I mean, I thought about doing it. Okay, so what I think is going to happen is that as I do the edge around here, I'm going to pull this out and let concrete go down in, and that way, I think that's a good idea. And then of course I have to leave this go for another long period of time. All right, I think I figured out a way to do this here. What it's going to take, just a little piece of this stuff. Not little enough. Too small. A bigger piece of this stuff. And of course it's not going to cooperate. That's all right. I'm trying to just be so cool today and relaxed. So you can go like this. If you will even remotely stay there, and I can put you like this. Okay? And that's just about what I want to get on here. Okay? So this duct tape is going to be under the concrete, but I'm going to cut a hole in it. So if I had another soda lid, I would definitely use it. I don't see any more here. There are some on there. I save them for things and put them safe places, and they're so safe that literally they can't be found. Okay, so here's my mix. This is black and brown. Okay, black and brown, and I'm going to. You didn't want to use this for the water, but I guess I have to. Put some water right in the center. Okay. This can't go back where the concrete is. It's all wet. All right, now. It's pretty wet. Let's see how it goes once I get all this mixed in. Maybe too wet. I can put some more of that in. As I was saying the other day, I watched these. I watched the guys on YouTube, and I keep saying they're from Taiwan. I don't know if that's true, but Thailand maybe is what I'm trying to say. And I'm not that smart on YouTube to be able to tell you why or how to tell where the person is, other than seeing the the Oriental characters in some of their descriptions. All right, this has to hold up to being stacked a little bit. And by that I mean I need to be able to put this on and have it hold up, it not just collapse. So that means it's going to have to be a little more dense than usual. So one of my plans was to use this concrete without the stones in it to make the wall. Okay? And the problem with that, of course, is that I also planned on putting some sand in it. And I got out here today anyway. I don't see any sand. All right, so here's Garner. I bought a nice tool that goes. Actually, it doesn't even go on a drill. It's a tool itself. It has a motor. And where is it? It's still in the box. That would make this a lot easier. But it's still in the box. We're getting there. I watched a cool video the other day. A new person that found that. I think there's like 12 or 13 people on YouTube, and I'm slowly discovering them. Anyway, I found one yesterday. He likes to do do-it-yourself projects. He's got a real nice shop, and woodworking mainly, I think. I see clamps on the wall and all that stuff. But he started a video the other day, the first one I saw of his, by saying what I just said. He watched people on YouTube make these wonderful flower pots, and they are what's the word? Huge. some of these guys, and I'm going to say Thailand too, because I really feel that's where it is. Some of these guys, obviously they make a lot of these, and so they have it down to a science. Okay, is that going to stand up to, yeah, I think it will. Okay. All right, now, I'm going to start in the center, like this, and work my way around. Of course, that worked like hell. The tape immediately gave out, so let's get rid of it. Bad idea. And we're going to just go right up to that edge if we can. So next door, I know I was telling a story here, so let me try to continue. Our neighbor next door, and you can hear him right now, he's a drummer, he's playing drums, and he's actually good at it. And I said that condescendingly, and that was wrong. He is good at it. So I don't know that having these stones in here on the bottom of this is a great idea. I just don't. But it seems to me that I never believed that concrete, when you add things to it, is stronger. I just don't believe it. I can't believe it. The other thing that's bad about this is that it's hard to compress it and make it go out because of the stones. So I'm just I'm crying today is what I'm doing. So I should have put some of this in here before figure out a way to make this be a little less onerous. And, could be onerous. I don't know. I don't know how to pronounce the word. I read a lot of books as a kid, but I didn't have a lot of people to ask pronunciations for, and of course I wasn't about to looking at it in the dictionary, So I would just make up my own pronunciation and go on. I wanted to keep reading. Okay, so I'd like to have a rehearsal over there, and that's okay. But anyway, my neighbor, who's, as I said, is a good drummer, has visitors quite often, and like right now, for instance, I think they're having a rehearsal over there, which doesn't really bother me. Just start folding it around like that. I know they won't be nearly enough to do this. That's it. If I can get somewhere around this, I'm moving, I'm doing it. Get in here like this. I read someplace that they make tools to use when you're doing concrete, little trowels and things. And to them I say, that's all very well and good, but we were given fingers for a reason. And so I do a lot more work with my fingers. Not just in bonsai, but everywhere. Okay, so I'm going to move you out. Like that. And make this a little even around this thing as we go. The other problem is that, of course, that this is flexible. This is flexible. And so I think since this has quite a bit of liquid in it still, you just end up patting it around as I go. Okay, so he's a drummer, as I was saying, and but he has a lot of visitors, and right now he has a visitor from Key West, and I'm not going to say any names, but his visitor has a bird, and his bird is named Noah. You can hear him, he's over there. So, and I happened to mention to my neighbor that at one point that I have these, it's already hardening in here from the humidity, and looks like the bottom is pretty much finished, so perhaps I can get through the rest of this. I don't have any more out here. I don't have any more out here. Once this runs out, I have to go again and am I still on? Yeah, good. I have to go get more concrete once this runs out. So let's try to be a little more careful here. It's like making frosting with, yeah, that's had it. It's like making frosting with confectioner's sugar. It gets close to the right texture, and you have to put drops of water in by the drop, so you don't go overboard. Because once you go overboard, then you have to do what I'm doing. You just add more and more sugar, and then more water, and that's gross. Okay, so the result of that is that you end up with more frosting than you thought you were going to. So there is a win there. Okay, so let's just keep going. And we're going to see if that works. It might work better than the last time. I didn't quite put as much in. Maybe I need more. Let's see. Okay, so it appears that I may have enough to finish this and put my wall in a little. Okay, so we're going to keep going with this. There's some dirt. We want that dirt to be free. We want it all to be in here. We need every bit of it to make this the right texture. Okay, so you can see that I can squeeze it and it pretty much stays where it is. And that's what we want. Let's go back to our friend here. It should be getting heavy. So let's always stop. Let's go around here and get a little more of this up on the wall. If it's not sufficiently thick, it just slowly creeps its way back down the wall. Okay. So let's go around the wall here some more. That's more like the texture I thought I was going to get. And it's holding up a lot better. And just going to go through the center of that. So that's holding up better. And more right here. And this all will be just like a rock in a day or two. Okay, so let's go around this to try another tack. We'll try this tack, which is some little patches in here. So you can look in the whole over. Okay, that's pretty good. Okay, and we can roll it out. Don't you think it's cool the way I have my gray t-shirt on that isn't going to show any of the problems when the concrete gets on it, like I'm looking at right now? Okay, so even you are sagging a little. That's okay. Looks to me like what I'm going to have to do is go ahead and make some more to make the center of this. That's all right. Now, once again, I can wait a little while and pat it up again more, and so I don't know that this top color is the same as the bottom, and that's fine. I like that. I like that idea. All right, so what I wanted to show you today was doing this and doing the wall in the middle. And I don't think I'm going to get to that just because I'm pretty low here. There. Up. Spend a lot of time doing this padding stuff. I'm going to just get higher like that. With the sides of these things, getting them to go higher and higher and higher. And the texture is just almost where it needs to be to do what I want it to do. Almost. So. Now, right around this area, I'm not going to put so much in because I'm going to put some more in when I build this, whatever I'm going to build. Okay, so I'm going around here, pat, 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 get it up, higher, 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 higher. Okay, just around and around, and gradually, as I go, you know. What would be smarter would be to put it up on here, like this. Okay, now not only, you can see better, and I can turn it on this turntable rather than messing with the bowl. Every time you move this bowl, every time the bowl flexes, every time the bowl flexes, thing sags a little more, because what flexing is moving the sides in, and they need to be farther out. And it'll flex to help you, but then in another spot where you weren't, it's not helping. So I'll go around here like this and put some of this in. Some of my pots are not so just about out of concrete, and it may be enough to do what I want to do right here. It might be enough. So I'm going to put it here, some over here, and let's get it over there too. Okay, so let's just go around and pat some more. So I pat at the bottom, that brings it up, then I pat a little bit at the top. Okay, that one can be fixed. A little bit of space out there. A little more. Now, it has to be, I was going to say it has to be deeper on this side because that's where the water is going to be. I'm not sure that's true now that I'm thinking about it. I'll tell you, it sure isn't deep right here. It's not deep. So it would appear that I'm going to put a little more concrete in here when I do the center. Okay? Now, let's just keep going. I guarantee you the bottom is thicker than it was. Okay, so I can't hang on to the bowl when I do this because it distorts it. All sorts of little things I don't remember when I'm doing this. Okay, around the circle again. Okay, that one's a little low because I'm going to put more there because of the so doing this right now is so much easier than doing it later. You just keep going in here. Like that. And it sags right behind me like there. You see it sagging? I think I'm going to have to keep doing this until the concrete starts to set a little more. Especially over here. It's just... Okay, that's going to work. Maybe keep going maybe 2 more times and I'll keep hitting the bowl instead of that. Here, higher, 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 higher. One of my very first, well, maybe even my very first plot was one where no, it wasn't the first one. The first one was something else, but it was one where it sticks to the back of my hand, so that's not really a great choice. So, getting close to where I can do it and where I have to stop. Okay, so what I think I'm going to do is kind of leave it that way. If I had some powdered concrete in my hands here, I could put some on here and it would help dry this out. But the more I do this, the more I think this is probably okay because I've decided I'm going to put a nice cap coat on it. And that one is going to be, I'm going to try to make it kind of more even, maybe. In other words, this is up to here, so put the cap coat up to there on this side and so forth. Isn't it? So one thing I didn't do, which if I had, it would have made this harder, and that's spray this inner thing with some sort of oil, or white oil on it. Okay. All right. Definitely heavier now. Here's the oil, by the way. It's just old cooking oil that I didn't put away yesterday. All right, so I don't know if this is going to end up showing any of the rocks, but the concrete is black, and the concrete is black, at least that's what it says. And so you just go around here and keep pushing. Every time I look at it, I see more of it sag, and I just don't want it to. I want it to stay up. That's helpful. A dry hand, dry finger. A lot of my bowls that I make end up being, I think, too short. So I've tried, in the last few ones of these I've done, I've tried to make them deeper. So let's turn it again. I can see where it's sagged. That's all right. And you know, the pot might be more interesting if it wasn't even. In other words, if it was sagging some places and not others, or sagging more some places than others. So you get to see how I do this, and you can tell that it's not really what I would call top-notch professional Thailand style. It's not that. It's fumbling. Hot fumbling is kind of what I do. You know, as I do this, and this happens to me every time when I watch my videos, why didn't I continue that story? And the reason is that I have ADHD, and my head is like, it's like 14 different TV stations. They used to be radio, now they're TV, because I've upgraded. Going on at the same time. I don't know how many more times I'm going to do this. So while I right there was going to finish the story about Yoba, and his name is Maui, the parrot. I was going to finish the story about him, and I got sidetracked. So anyway, this parrot is Noah. He and his owner came and visited the other day, and Noah is just a great Maui. Sorry, his name is Maui. I'm going to have to rename him to. It just is. I'm just not remembering. Anyway, Maui. There he is. He says, "Yeah, you're right, Maui." That's it. Okay, so. So I mentioned, after I heard Maui, and I correctly guessed that Maui is a blue and gold parrot, I told my neighbor, the drummer, that I have these cages left over from when we had big birds. Our big birds probably passed away 2 years ago, the last one. We have some big birds now, but not the kind that use that kind of cage. Our big birds now use the floor. There's a couple of them right here behind me, in fact. I'm finding that I can squeeze this a little, maybe, and squeeze some of the dirt out, or the water out. Like that. Can't see it, I'm facing the wrong way, but I'm compressing the concrete at the top a little bit. Just to try to squeeze some of this water out. Pressing the concrete at the top and not letting it roll over. Okay, that seems interesting. I think it's hardening a little, and what's happening is it's getting more interesting. The more of this I do. So anyway, the old Maui's owner came over, great guy, and looked at our two huge cages and said, "I'll take them." Which is miraculous, because I haven't even been able to give them away. I've been trying, and he's coming out pretty good too. These cages cost around $1,500, something like that each. Some years back, they're probably more now. So he's got a nice big truck and friends, and he's going to come and get them, take them back down to where he lives. Where Maui lives. And not only that, but it turns out that he has friends with birds that can maybe use the rest of our extra cages. So many extra cages. How many cages are we using right now? You think about that. 6 cages. And those 6 cages work for 11 birds, because 3 of the birds are ducks and they don't live in cages. Outside the cages. Okay, so this might be getting a little thin up here, which is actually not bad. I'm going to squash it out a little more, making this edge on the center with my thumb, which I think could be good. If I can make this sufficiently interesting, I won't have to put a cap on it. Okay, so I'm just going to keep going on like that. Turn it. Getting harder to turn, and that's because it's so heavy. So he's going to relieve us of, I hope, many of our cages. That's going to be just great. because we're not taking in any more birds. Our last bird we're taking in is ducky and duckies. Duckies, the last one. The last of the Mohican muscady ducks. And I'm thinking that this water that's draining down to the bottom, which I am liking, is going to go ahead and help this down here somehow. I hope it is. Okay, so is that deep enough now? You know, I just want to keep doing this, and keeping it going at the top. It almost makes a little rim on the top. Now, I am going to have to put some more in when I do this when I do the fountain part. Okay? Anyway, that's why this is a mess, because we're taking these cages apart for our friend, and he's got other things to do, of course, so he's not. It's not urgent, in other words. And we told him it's not urgent. We've had these cages for 10 years. So he's setting up how he's going to do it, I think. That's my take on it. And, okay, so just a little bit. So I think you can see that it's getting better. Now, my plan originally was to use, as I say, concrete, black colored concrete with sand in it to do this sponge. And I discovered I don't have much sand. Put what I had in, and that's the way it is. Could probably keep doing this just about all day, maybe hours. What would be nice is if I didn't have to move this very much to do this. That's not helping. I'm going to start doing it more gently. Maybe it'll take better. Nice spot. A little more. There, around here. So this little rim that's forming up here is what I want. Okay, there's a rim right there. It can be higher. And I just have to keep going around here to try to get it to stay up. And what has happened, for those of you that might want to try this, is that I've put too much water in, because I never think that there's enough. And then I put some in, and then it seems like I need more, and I just keep going and going and going. As I do this, I'm getting closer to the top and not going down as far. I'm letting the water, I hope I'm letting the water be down here, and you know, I'm not going to do anything with it, but what I could do is put some more water in there and make it work. So, so far, I don't see any real reason to have to put another top on this. But let's see how far it sags after I let it go. This is a good illustration of just how long you can work with concrete. A long time. And if you put a little more water in, I think it makes it go a little longer. I don't want it to go longer. I want it to go shorter. So if I had some more powdered concrete, I would be putting it on now. So let me look at this a little bit. Okay. I don't want it taller. There's one spot. There's one. A little bit. Taller. That's pretty tall. It's getting up there. Okay. There's a spot where it needs it. Okay, I think I'll leave that the way it is because it's going to be nice and thick, and just go with that. Okay, so what's next? What's next? Well, I'm going to let this sit again for a long time, and I don't know that the top will be completely dry when I do the next step, but it would be smart if it was, because the next step is going to be to build, let's see, I want the water to be like this. So we're going to build a wall like that, around that way. And this whole area here will be where I plant something. Okay, so we're just going to leave that to be a little thicker. Anything I can do to make this just a little thicker where it's getting thin would help. The base of it is nice and thick, so I'm not worried about that. Okay, so this is going to sit, and I won't know till later if I'm going to be able to make it so you can see these rocks. And I hope I'll be able to do a little bit of that. You know, maybe a few spots here and there, sand, get some of the concrete off. That makes sense. In other words, the top layer of concrete is like stucco, and it's wearing away and underneath some rock. So I'm going to think about that a little bit. It'll help me because I really don't do that very well. If I had to reveal all the stones all around here, I think I would be weakening the pot. I made a pot the other day where I did that, and it's okay. But I have a feeling that it's weaker than it needs to be because of that, and it doesn't look so. It took me a long time. So in this one, I'm just going to do on the outside of the pot, you know, several spots where I can get down to the rocks, and you know, might even be able to use the pick some of the stuff off, so it really looks like it broke, and that's dangerous, of course, as it might be. Okay, so down in the center is where the drainage hole is going to be. That's going to work fine. It'll work fine. I see the pot is now maybe an inch thick on the bottom, and it's heavy, much heavier. Of course, when the water dries, it's not as heavy. Okay, so that's going to dry. I'm not going to worry about doing this thing on the outside because I'm not taking it out of the pot until it's finished. Now, it just occurred to me something that I'm glad I thought about that, because I may have to take it out of the pot to model this. So that only over the pot may not be enough. Okay? So I'm going to give that some thought. Do I want to take it out of the pot? And you know, it'll probably come out. It would come out of the pot by just pulling on that, I think. But we're not there yet. So I'll think about that. It looks a little narrow at the top, but deeper down it gets thick fast. So I think this will be fine. All right. So let me talk about it. After this dries. Hi, number 2. What are you doing? That's a big old duck over there. I don't know what's wrong with him. Anyway, he needs a duck psychologist, really. I gotta rinse this off because I want to use it. I lose it my coffee. So this water that I have by my desk is in lieu of a hose or a sink. I have a little water over here. But what I will do is put some water in this and let it not be so messy. Letting concrete dry on plastic doesn't seem to bother me much. Every time I get one of these out, I find I've done it. So, probably what happens is I get sidetracked just like everything else. Okay, so that's not bad. But I can't put this water back in because it is really an acid. Okay, so I'm going to pour it some. The rain rinses all this away. Okay, so rinse that out. What are we up to now? 89 minutes? 50 minutes. So the next thing is either take it out or not, but I've got a model I've got to model a stream, okay? And I have to remember to put a hose in here. So how can I remember to do that? Well, I have to remember to put a hose in here because there's got to be, the pump's got to be in here, and the hose got to be from the pump up through the center of this out here and where water comes out. Right? And this section of this is going to be waterproof. That's the theory, anyway. And I think it'll be waterproof. Most of my pots don't let water through even if they have a drainage hole, so I'm not worried about that. But this wall is going to have to be as tall as the pot. Exactly, because it's going to be filled with water. And I don't really want it lower than the pot so that water spills over and drowns my plant. So it has to be a situation where the water will stay in, and it can be a little less than the level of the pot, but the wall will be that tall. So this fountain will be here. I'm not sure how I'm going to do it yet. How I'm going to do it, I got a couple of ideas. It's not important that I know that right now because I've got the anchor in place. Okay, so let me just look at this. Yeah, I think what's happened is a good thing. The concrete has sagged down to the edge of the pot, and it's strengthening the outside. Now, I don't really know that this pot's going to break. It has that, what do you call it, that screen, the wire screen in here like this, all the way through the bottom. Okay, so that's going to be built. Let me explain how it's going to be. I'm not sure the actual mechanism of under here other than having a pipe in, but what I want to do is have kind of a little spillway, like a stream, that almost, what would be nice if it looks like it starts up in the air and then comes down through a stream and then pours into that and then keeps going, okay? And the spillway is going to be painted black, all of it, so that literally it could look like it's just hanging in the air. Black is my favorite, it's the best camouflage color, I think. So in that spillway is going to be glued some aquarium pebbles. So they're green and blue, and that may seem a little garish, but that's the color of the water in my Japanese garden. And this could go back there because it's going to be solar powered. And it's going to be solar powered. I got solar pumps up the yin-yang around here. And I can put it back in the corner by my garden where there's a little sun and let it burble its way around and make some water noise down there. Don't know what kind of plant I'll put in it. I'm going to bet about 50% this spring on whether or not the ones I pick make it or not. But that's okay. That's actually not a bad average. My average for germinating seeds is probably about 5%. That includes all seeds. The ones I buy and the ones I find. None of them come up. Now I noticed a plant coming up somewhere around here. But most of the time, in one of my seed pots, in other words, most of the time when that happens, it's just one of the bird seed. Seeds coming up. And that's okay. I pull them out and give them to the turtles, and they seem to like it. Okay, so this is, what are we looking at? Yeah, you can see this. Move it over here a little, and I'll turn it around for you. Coffee out of the way. It is totally homely, and I don't know that it won't be anything other than that in the future. So I'll tell the final story about this video I watched. The guy who had watched the video of them making a giant pot, we'll say Thailand. That's going to suffice for all the places. They made this pot. It must have been, I almost want to say 3 feet across and 3 feet tall and 2.5 inches thick, something like that. And so he said we're gonna try it, and he videoed the whole thing from the very beginning. The way they do it in Thailand, at least on this video, was they have a board, and there's something mounted in the center of it that's a pipe. Okay? And this pipe is mounted solid. It doesn't move. Okay? It's mounted solid. It has to be mounted solid because you need it to spin in an exact circle when you're going to use it. So this, so what they did is they saw this guy kind of use this thing on this pole to spin around and make his sand the right shape, and then spin it around when the concrete was on it and make it the right shape. He was skeptical that this would work, and as the process unfolded, there were places where it didn't look like it was going to work. One of the places is when you have sand stacked up, and I know that. I mean, I've tried to make a pot with sand mold and pouring the concrete over the top. If the sand isn't just right, it is going to collapse. And the problem is it collapses when it's too wet and also when it's too dry. So it has to be perfect. It has to be the perfect consistency to make a really complicated beach sand sculpture. Some of them are outlandishly difficult, and that's because they get the sand right and they know how much it'll take. Okay, so he was worried about that, and so worried that instead of pouring the concrete over the top, which is kind of what they do, they don't pour it like a gallon full. They take little cups and pour it like that, and they put a first coat on that's not too thick, and from that point on they can use trowels and do more. So he didn't believe that would work, even though we've all seen them do it. We've all seen them do it on videos. We all suspect that there's some hokey pokey going on, or whatever you call it, where something isn't quite as it seems. So you don't always see any failures. But by the time these guys get to videos, they made hundreds of these, maybe thousands. So it's not a what's the word? It's not a problem. They know exactly how to do it. So anyway, these guys were going to make their money. So he decided they couldn't pour it over, and that's probably a good decision. Started to put it on with trowels, and he's an experienced cement worker. So they put, first of all, before they put the concrete on, they went around with the outer. Let's see, is that true? The inner template. Okay, that's the one that fits the sand, and then you put another one on, and it does the concrete. Now I can explain this a little better, possibly. These are templates. Okay, so if I want my pot to look like this on the edge, I take this around the sand, and I've done it a few times by hand. Of course, it's not very uniform or beautiful, but you do that until it's how you want it. Then you start putting concrete on, pouring it in their case, but also later on putting it on with a trowel. So they put this concrete on, and they found out that how much concrete is required to do a pot like that. And it's bag after bag. I don't know if they'd use 12 bags of cement or something. A huge amount. Now, the title for this video was I Saved Myself $1,200, and evidently a pot this large. I'm going to get to how much it weighs, but $1,200 is the going rate for something like that. And having seen what he went through, I mean, it took him, with the drying and all that and the curing and all, it took him, I don't know, weeks to get this thing finished. And that's not very much, that doesn't save you very much over weeks. But anyway, he wanted to do it and see if he could do it. So they managed to get enough concrete on of the right consistency so they could use their second template and shape this concrete. And at that point, I'm skipping some of it, but at that point, they looked at it and they said, let's just wait. So, because they didn't want to do it too quickly so it would crack. And during this time, evidently, one of them figured out how much this thing was going to weigh when it was done, all dry, even with the water out, dried out. Well over 600 pounds. And they had to move it. They were working on it on a bench. And they had to move it once they realized that the bench was going to collapse before even all the sand was up on there. So they moved it down to the ground. And once they'd moved it to the ground, that meant that they were going to have to lift it up somehow. And not only is it weighs 600 pounds, but potentially could be a little iffy whether or not it would break. So they decided to wait quite a while. And lifting it was really almost impossible. They couldn't get a wedge under it, you know, a wooden what do you call it, shim. They couldn't get one, so he had to do it with a putty knife, where he could pry it up a little. I mean, tying up 600 pounds, that's pretty good even for a guy. But he was able to get it to move just enough to get one shim in. And once one shim is in, you can get a bigger shim and put it in. And they just went shim by shim by shim. And I think they ultimately lifted up maybe an inch off the ground. And at that point, they discovered that they could kind of reach in and clear out some of the sand. In fact, probably it was falling out by itself once it was lifted up. And I watched them do that. I remembered that when they had taken it from the bench down to the ground, with already 200 or 300 pounds of sand on it, that one of the guys had let go, and the other one had his legs trapped under it and had to be helped out. So this is how much this weighs. So two things. First of all, it was great to get the sand out, and some of it, maybe not all of it. But secondly, I'm watching them put their hands underneath this in this inch wide space to get whatever they were using to scrape it out. And I'm thinking, you know, if that thing somehow comes down, their hand or their fingers are gone. But they succeeded, and so got the sand out. They were able to, on one side, pick it up enough to put a dolly. So they picked it up and put it on a dolly. That got it up in the air. They were able to flip it over and start taking the sand out. And by this point, you know, they won. And I kind of suspected they won, because I don't know why the video would be up if it had been an utter failure. There's only one idiot that puts his failure videos up on the internet, and that's would be me. Hopefully this won't be one of them. But so they got it flipped over or washed off, and this thing is beautiful. The only thing I might have done, and it's not too late to do one way, I might have colored the concrete with some terracotta. This is terracotta, and that's enough to color a lot. I've used it for years, and it's still hardly any gone. But you could color that whole thing terracotta when you mix the concrete, and then it would look a little more interesting. Now, if that was a little too much, and it could be much, 600 pounds of concrete, mixing color in it is not easy. You'd have to put the color in dry. No, it's not dry, it's liquid. I can't see myself doing that. But the next option they still could do, even though they put it up on the porch. They could paint it. And all you need to do that is just tilt it up enough to put a paper underneath it all the way around, so when you paint it doesn't get anywhere. And you could use acrylic paint. You wouldn't even be hurting any plants that are in it. And you may do that as time goes on. But I'm just so happy that the thing worked out. It encouraged me to, you know, try some things, and this is one of them. Okay, so the next part of today, since I'm already up to an hour, I think. Oh yeah. The next part of the day is going to be working on these pumps. These are solar powered water pumps, and I have a fountain over there. I've got to try to make one of these work in. And it didn't work yesterday, but when I brought it inside, it worked. So I can't bring the fountain inside. It's going to have to figure out a way to work out here. But that's another project I have. So anyway, that's Bonsai Anonymous out. Bye-bye.